Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. So I've done a bit more to these two builds. If you recall, I said that I may not do much to them, but I have had a go at trying to enhance the models a little bit at least. So I'll show you the progress on the Panther first, I think. I'll just get that and we'll have a look at it together. So here's the Panther, guys, and as you can see, the upper hull has been glued now to the running gear and whatever. I filled in the gap at the back just with some putty. As you can see, there wasn't as much of a gap to close up once I'd finished messing around, thinning the two side parts off to try and get the back plate to fit in there. I've added the anti-aircraft MG rail, which was out of a strip of evergreen. Basically I, as you can see, cut a small strip and then I just wound that around something, then got some tweezers to hold it in place, and then poured boiling water over it to try and get it to keep the shape. Obviously what tends to happen is it springs out a bit, so what you need to do is make it a little bit smaller. Whatever you're using to wrap it round, make it smaller than the actual area that you're going to cover, so that when it springs out it's more in line with the width that you need, or the circumference that you need. The only other thing I've done on the Panther, I don't know how well you can see them, is the towing buckles on the front. I made those out of some wire. What I did was I got a very fine drill bit, and I wrapped the wire around the drill bit to give me the hole that the bolt goes through, and then I just kind of guesstimated how much wire I would need to create the loop, and then I wrapped the other part of the other end of the wire around the drill bit again, and then basically messed about with it to try and get it the right width. It took me 4 attempts to create the two that you see on the kit. The only other thing I could do on the Panther, which should be reasonably easy, but I don't know, is there should be a hatch here, a circular hatch. I can't find my the circular cutting tool at the moment. What I would do is get some evergreen sheet and just do a circle and then place that on there to create the hatch, or at least a representation of it. So that's the Panther. If, as I say, if I don't do the hatch on the back, then I'm just going to start painting this one up. So the next one to look at is the Tiger. So as you recall, I said that the Tiger will look ridiculous without the mud guards, and as a consequence I've had a go at creating them from evergreen sheet again. I've done, as you can see, both on the front. What I did here was I just got a piece of paper, I got a piece of the evergreen sheet, put it under the this area, and then I just drew the outline of what I needed to cut. So then I cut that out, and obviously I did it in such a way that I'd hopefully got straight edges anyway. So that was that done. Then I just looked at reference photographs and saw that this hinge was in line with the deck here. So I just put a thin piece of rod. It's actually squared in cross section. So I put a thin piece of that on there, waited for that to dry, and then I cut it the various lengths in order to replicate the hinges, and I did that on both sides. I have got a 1/72 Tiger that I haven't built yet, so I was able to use that as a bit of a reference, and also to try and get some dimensions off it. But what was interesting on that kit, on the 72nd kit, this mud flap or whatever is square. It goes right across, so you put it on and it's a piece that goes from there along to there, and it's a square piece. Whereas obviously the Airfix body had this part moulded into it already, and I did look at reference photographs for that, and I actually found one where there was a chap sat up here somewhere, and you could see that the mud flap had gone, and you'd got this piece coming out, so that was quite useful. So that's why I didn't cut this section off to make a squared off one. I actually wanted to incorporate the mud flap and make it look like it would have done on the actual thing. So then I turned my attention to the back and created two more mud flaps. These were a bit more of a challenge because I needed to bend them at a certain point and try and get a reasonable angle on them. As you can see, I've used that thin stripped square sectioned evergreen again here, so it goes up there along the top here and back down, and again that's just to give an impression of what the mudguard looked like as opposed to creating something that was spot on. Now I had on the kit, just before showing you this, created one of the heat shields for the exhaust. I'd only done the one. As you can see, this is from metal foil, from lead foil from a wine bottle, and I just I used the 1/72 piece from the other kit to try and give me some idea of how to create that. And it was on the tank, it was glued there with super glue, but unfortunately it wasn't glued very well and it's just popped off. So that's that. And then the final thing that I did was I had to go at making the stowage box on the back of the turret. So that's the stowage box. It is a big, unfortunately. I'm just have to say it's a field modification after they lost the original one. But it is, as I say, if I had made it just ever so slightly smaller, then that would have been pretty much bang on. The only thing I'm struggling with at the moment is, if I bring my knife back in, there's two hatches, there's one here and there's one here, and I'm struggling to do those. I just can't seem to cut them right. But I have to admit I'm quite pleased with my attempts. At least I had a go to try and to try and bring these kits up to perhaps a bit better standard. As I mentioned before, the 5-foot filters are missing on the back of the Tiger, as well as the hoses going across the engine deck, and there's no way I'm going to do those. I'm not going to do the cables either for this. I'm just going to leave them, and I ain't going to replicate any tools as well. So the only thing left to do really on the Tiger is to try and get those two hatches created on the back of the stowage box. Oh, sorry, on top of the stowage box. And once that's done, then this is going to be painted up. I did talk about the paint schemes for these, and I was going to do them the Airfix call out. I'm not sure whether the Panther will be finished in the sand yellow that they suggest now. I think I may actually do it in at least Dunkelgelb I know what I was saying about nostalgia, and you know, as a kid you would just go, okay, that's the paint I need, and you just paint it up. But there is part of me that's saying that I do know better, and perhaps I should do it at least a colour that they were produced in or rolled out in. I don't know. We will see. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. I do appreciate it, and I'll catch up with you soon.